What's up guys? So today I want to talk a bit about fire. I want to go over how fire works and what it needs to sustain itself. I want to go over the different types and the different methods that you can use to start a fire. Also the preliminaries you want to think about before even lighting your fire, and talk a bit about fire safety. I'll be lighting 2 small fires today using 2 different methods just to demonstrate. Now how fire works and what it needs to sustain itself comes down to 3 things, which is heat, oxygen, and fuel. Without any of those elements, you will not have fire, whether trying to start one or extinguish one. So if you're trying to start a fire, for example, and you're missing any one of those elements, you will not be able to create a fire. And if you're trying to extinguish a fire, you remove one of those elements so that you will not have a fire. So just remember, how fire works and what it needs to sustain itself comes down to those 3 essential key elements, which is heat, oxygen, and fuel. Now the different types of fires narrow down to 3 different kinds, which are natural fires, which are primitive fires, and which are modern device-made fires. So natural fires include things like lightning and trees that fall down on each other that create coals that can ignite on the forest floor. There's primitive fires, which include compression fires, friction fires, and percussion fires. And modern device fires include things like matches and lighters and blowtorches and things like that. Now the primitive ways to make fire, which include compression, friction, and percussion, I want to go over the different methods. Now a method of compression fire, for an example, is the fire piston. And a few examples of friction fire is the hand drill, the bow drill, and the plow. And an example of percussion fire is like a fire rod or flint and steel or fire striker. Now I also want to just take a moment just to go over a few preliminaries you want to think about before even lighting your fire. For an example, if you're out in wet conditions, you're going to want to create a platform on the ground so that the moisture and the wetness of the ground doesn't absorb all the energy away from your fire, so you can sustain your fire a lot longer. Okay. Also, if you're in wet conditions, you want to collect a lot of excess of wood so that you don't have to go out and get more while your fire is burning, and that's especially key if it's at night and the sun's going down and you're trying to collect firewood for the night. So when you think you have enough firewood, go double that, even triple that if you want to, just to make sure that you have enough for the night. Now also, if you're trying to make a fire that's going to last long and you don't want to feed it yourself, you would want to make a self-feeding fire. So that, for an example, changes how you build it. You want to create a bigger platform, maybe 3 or 4 layers up, and then start your fire on there. Some people just start the fire, some people make teepees, some people make half shelves and stuff. So there's different ways to create your fire, and those are preliminaries you want to think about before you even lighting your fire. Also, another preliminary you want to think about is wind. So if you're in a windy area, you want to create maybe a barricade on which way the wind is coming so that it doesn't suck all the energy from your fire and burn your fire out a lot faster than it needs to, so you can preserve how long it lasts. So it also conserves how much firewood you're going to need over the night. These are just different preliminaries you can think about even before lighting your fire. Now I also just want to take a second just to go over some fire safety, which for example is check up to make sure that there's nothing that will burn above you that your fire might set on fire. And also check down. Clear the ground of any surrounding debris or things that might catch on fire to avoid any forest fires. So if you're going to create a big fire, then you would want to surround it with either some rocks or some dirt. And keep in mind that if you build a dugout fire pit, you can use that dirt, the very same dirt, to surround your fire to make sure that it doesn't spread. If anything, if a gust of wind comes by, it might blow a couple sparks or embers or ashes onto the surrounding ground. But when you want to extinguish the fire, you can either have a bucket of water, or you can use the very same dirt that you used to dig out to cover the fire back up and then keep it moving. This is just a bit about fire safety. And also, sleep at least 1.5 to 2 feet away from the fire. So once again, if a gust of wind comes by and wants to blow some embers or a couple of sparks, or if you have a lot of wet wood that keeps combusting, then it doesn't land on you and set you on fire in the night or burn you. Okay, so you know the preliminaries before lighting your fire. Now how to light your fire. You want to first start with a tinder bundle. The purpose of the tinder bundle is to create a long enough fire flame to ignite your fuel. Now what you want to make your tinder bundle out of is things like tree bark shavings or tree bark dust, or inner wood shavings or inner wood dust, tree sap, birch bark. You can use any cotton-like fiber materials that you can derive from the plants, or any dry or dead plant or grass-like material. And you want to create a bundle of that. And the reason why that you want those materials is because they're easily combustible, which means they set a fire very, very easily. And make sure that they're extremely dry. Now your tinder bundle doesn't burn for very long. It can burn from 30 seconds to a minute. So by the time your tinder bundle burns out, your fuel should be lit. And you have to build your fire up, so from small to big. So you use your tinder bundle to burn feather sticks, you use your feather sticks to burn twigs and sticks, you use your twigs and sticks to burn kindling, you use your kindling to burn large pieces of wood, and you use your larger pieces of wood to burn logs. You build your fire up that way. That's if you're making a fire that needs to be big, if you're planning to cook or have a fire burn for a few hours, or even overnight. So I also want to start two small fires using two different methods just to illustrate what it is that I was speaking of. And I brought a few materials here to show you what it is you could start a fire with. So here are some materials you can use to make a fire and to create a tinder bundle. Here's a bird's nest, a very small one. That's a naturally found tinder bundle. I can put some combustible material in here to make a small tinder bundle. I can create a larger tinder bundle. I found a larger bird's nest. I can put some combustible material in here and surround it to create another tinder bundle that will last longer than this first one. Here's some plant fibers, very extremely dry, already dead, so therefore it will ignite a lot faster than live plants. And here is some cotton-like material, cotton-like, plant-like material that it combusts. It's very, very flammable, and it's highly combustible. So that would also go into my tinder bundle. Here's some tree bark, some birch bark. The oils in it create a gasoline effect. So as soon as it burns, it lights, and it's highly combustible. Also, here's some wood shavings. The purpose of wood shavings is that they light a lot faster than small kindling pieces. And at the end, here's some actual kindling that if I wanted to burn bigger pieces of wood, I have here. And I would use this to burn logs afterwards. So I'm not creating a big fire today, guys. It's a very small one. I won't even be using these today, okay? Now I'm going to demonstrate how to light two fires using two different methods. One, using the fire rod, and two, show you how to use matches. Now I'm going to build the tinder bundle for you guys, and you can see how it's made. Okay, so just as an example, the way I'm going to make this tinder bundle is to take some cotton-like material, and I'm going to place it underneath since it's the most highly combustible. Okay? That goes inside. Now that I've done that, I'm going to place some dry plant fibers inside as well. We circle around it to leave some room for some air so it can breathe. Because one of the elements I told you fire needs is oxygen amongst heat and fuel. Maybe a little bit of birch bark and some shavings. You can break them down and break them down again. Put some of that in there. Now I'm going to light this from the bottom up. I'm going to make a little hole. There you go. So it's not completely encircled. There's a way for me to light it here in the front, as you can see it. Now I'm going to use matches. I want to explain something to you so you can conserve your matches. Now, when trying to strike matches, you don't want to hold it like this, because the pressure of your index finger can make it snap, and you don't want that. And also going down, you don't want to use your thumb, because it can also do the same thing. And if you're in a survival situation, you need to maximize the use of every match. So you put your finger on the match, you strike it, and you cup it with your fingers. Give it some time to get started. Give it some time. Now you want to carry it to your tinder bundle. Now when I light it, this is what happens. And there you have your fire. From there you can put some shavings on it. From there you grab a couple of twigs and you add to it. You build your fire from the bottom up. Now for a second example to light a tinder bundle, I'm going to use the smaller bird's nest this time. I'm going to use cotton-like material once again. So I'll take it out, place it inside. Put some tree bark on it and some plant shavings. Some wood shavings. Now the way I'm going to light this fire is with a fire rod and a knife. So this is to illustrate a percussion way of making a fire. Now, the proper way to use this, if you've made a teepee type of structure, or you've already made your tinder bundle, you don't want to knock your tinder bundle off. You see how it works? That's a percussion way of making fire. So the sparks spontaneously combust in the air. They need the oxygen to do it, and that's how it works. But you want to pull this away. You pull your fire rod away from the knife instead of launching your blade in front. I'm going to show you how this works. You place it, pull away. That's how that works. And there we have it. It got started, guys. And that's how you can use this to make yourself a fire. It works. So now that it's aflame, I can put some more wood shavings to make a bigger fire. And then from there, I can use bigger pieces and then just cross them over so that it can burn. Now, since I'm making a small fire here for you guys just as a demonstrative purpose, I've decided to put moss on the ground so that this is not going to burn the ground, and it's a small fire. It's not something I can't control and stomp on, so I didn't have to surround it with dirt and I didn't have to surround it with rocks. But this is only because I'm experienced with making fires. I've been making fires for years, guys. So this is a way, and this is actually very warm and right on time. So I'm actually going to take a moment just to get myself warm. That feels good. Nothing like that fire heat, man, guys. But you see right here, I'm going to push away some of the other materials just to make sure it doesn't spread. Just did that. This feels nice. Woo. Yeah, I feel my fingertips getting warm already, guys. Nothing like fire. Now, fire is a multi-purpose. I could take a minute just to talk about that. You can use fire to cook. You can use fire to sterilize. You can use fire to purify your water, to make burnout bowls, or to burn out canoes if you need to make tools. You can harden wood that way, so if you don't burn it, but just extract the moisture from the wood. And a few other things. So there's not a video on the ways that fire can be used. But that's just a few for you. Alright, so that's it. Now you know a little bit more about fire, how it works and what it needs to sustain itself. You know a few different types and kinds of fire. You know a few methods of how to start fire. You know a few more preliminaries of what you want to think about before starting your fire. And you know a little bit more about fire safety. So now when you go out there and you use fire, you have better knowledge of it and how to use it.